people often ask me where I got my weird accent, and I don't know. Born in Michigan, grew up in Southern California, and my wife and I moved about 12 times since we were married, so I'm not sure where I picked up this weird accent. I don't speak the common language of Tennessee. In California, it's interesting because it was a different state there at the time. You know, Ronald Reagan was a governor over there, so it was a very conservative state. And as a matter of fact, on my diploma from Cal Poly Pomona, it is Ronald Reagan governor. Pretty proud of that, okay? Because I have a lot of respect for him as not only the governor, but as the president that we had. And I don't want anything I say today to be braggadocious, okay? Because I truly believe everything is a gift from God. It's on loan to us, okay? Our lives, our careers, and everything is on loan. And I think someday we're going to be accountable for what we did with those moments, that time, that gift. So, what do I say? I'm going to share a few. I met my wife in California. She was in the church. My dad was a minister. And one thing I learned early on is I'm never going to become one of those. Because being a preacher's kid, and he was an evangelist, so he started churches. Went to California to start a church in the LA Basin area, and I thought, this job doesn't pay enough for me, number one. Number two, everybody comes with their problems. I mean, they come with, you know, my kid is rebelled, he's on drugs. You know, my wife wants a divorce. And preachers get bombarded with all this negative stuff. See? And when we're in California, we're actually started a church, so the church was in our home. So when people came to see the preacher, you couldn't help but listen in what was going on, you know. But anyway, I was blessed. My parents were relatively poor, so I went to college and paid my way as I went. I had a part-time job, so I paid my way through school. Graduated and got married and started my career within a week. Actually, I'll let you laugh at our honeymoon a little bit. I was so broke, and my wife came from a relatively poor family. And so we started off our honeymoon in San Diego. And you don't have to go to an expensive hotel. You can just walk through their lobby and go onto their beach and pretend you're part of the group, okay? Anyway, we just had a good time, but ran out of money halfway through and ended up going camping up northern California in the last half of our honeymoon. So went home, got a tent, well, just got acquainted. Anyway, my career with alcohol, I'm just going to share a few things that people shared with me that have impacted my life, okay? An old mentor, I went to work for Alcoa, but at the time it was the fourth largest company in the world. I mean, you don't think of Alcoa. If you look at the plaque over here on Norris Lake, it says donated by the Aluminum Company of America. Alcoa had all these assets. I have a little book at home I took out of the trash once that showed all the lakes of the TVA that were laid out and surveyed by Alcoa to produce electricity and smelt aluminum. It takes a lot of electricity to smelt. And but that was interesting. They donated in the Depression the property and the plans for this dam. Unfortunately, now that, and there are many, many dams all the way up through North Carolina, etc., that are part of this whole series that were put in to generate electricity for industry, but the industry is all gone now. There are no smelters. And part of it was to make aluminum, you have to have cheap power. And when a utility can sell it for more money, it drives the industry out. But I went to work in a Los Angeles plant. As a matter of fact, I had a little scholarship from Alcoa, seeing I was a broke little kid and needed all the help I could get. And I thought, wow, they came on campus, but I thought I'm not going to work for a manufacturing company. And so I walked into the interview and this guy said, I assume the only reason you're here is because we gave you money. Whoa, yes. So I'm here. I thought the least I could do was interview him. Anyway, I got a job there. An old timer, an old civil engineer. He walked around with me the first day, and I can't forget what he said. I go, man, this is a 100-year-old company, okay? What am I going to do to improve it? He said, you look around and there is not a thing this company does that can't be improved. And it's up to you to find those improvements and make them happen. Don't talk about it. We don't need people philosophizing. We want results. So you are paid by this company to be a change implementer. Make changes, make improvements, make it profitable. Make sure that you are providing more benefit to the company than they're paying you for salary. Make yourself a great investment. And I'll never forget that. A change agent. And you know, any organization that's not improving and making changes is dying. And so we always have to look for opportunities to improve and to grow and to be successful. I always felt in my career as well is you need to earn the right to move ahead. And you do that by being an outstanding performer in the job you have. I always figured if I could get to be an outstanding performer in my current assignment, new opportunities would come up. And they do. That's proven very successful to me because about every 5-6 years I get bored in my job and Alcoa would give me another opportunity. That resulted in a lot of moves. I married my wife, but we have moved about 12 times following career opportunities. And my wife was a wonderful supporting person because as our kids were growing up, going to a different school or a different place can be challenging. And my wife always told our kids, I'll never forget it, she'd say, we're going to a place that people around us think is the best place in the world to live. Let's try to find out what that is. Why do they think this is the best place in the world to live? Let's learn some of these things that are positive and what people really enjoy about where they live. And so she's done that. Later on in my career, I had this interest. I had an option to go from engineering into health and safety. The corporation, well, I also took a little stint in total quality management because Alcoa in the 80s was faced with the fact that Japan could make aluminum sheet flatter, better quality, and ship it over here cheaper than we could make it. And that's a wake-up call. That's really a wake-up call. So it was like, what is Japan doing that we're not doing? got to spend a little time in that. And came back and had an opportunity to go into health and safety. In a business unit or business, a CEO, Paul O'Neill, he was treasurer for a short period of time, and treasurer secretary. His philosophy was, we as a corporation can do a lot of things. We can be profitable. We can hire people. We can terminate people. You know, we got lots of opportunities and lots of rights and privileges. But one thing we don't have a right to do is to injure people, to hurt them. And so he wanted to create a safety program that was the best in the world. DuPont's probably better known as their safety system. And so I was one of the engineers that had an opportunity to work on their safety system and create it. And it was really built on the philosophy of, you know, every accident has causes. I would say multiple root causes, but they have causes. And as we investigate them, we realize they can all be prevented. And by the way, who's ultimately responsible for injuries? But the leadership. It's kind of funny. I personally investigated 21 fatal events in our corporation. And you go there and it's kind of interesting to see what happens. Most of the people say, oh, well, this guy did a stupid thing. I already made a mistake. He didn't lock out the equipment. He took extra risk. You know, this guy was not too smart. He played the cards, and the cards bit him. Took a risk and it bit him. But the more you look at it, you realize that, you know, what's the enforcement there, okay? Look at the rules and see how they are enforcing their rules. What do they reward? Okay, and for example, a simple one is, you have a rule book that says you gotta cross the streets in a crossway. Right, and, you know, crosswalk. And you look around, you see management and everyone else walking any more than what? Over really as you go up the steps. Don't do that. And so you realize that rules are only a suggestion. And sometimes we reward people for getting equipment back online quickly, you know, getting things done, results. Boy, I have a great performance, buddy, even though you violated some rules to get there. And when they get bit, you know, I can explain lots of these fatal events, but when you get bit, whose fault is it? I used to go, when I investigated these, in my briefcase I had a mirror, but anyway, you always wrap up with the operations manager, okay? And either two results were, there were operation managers who said, I am accountable for my employees. I am responsible, okay? I set the standards. And it failed. I failed. I always say a fatality is the ultimate failure in an industry, but otherwise they go, oh, well, this guy was stupid. And I used to say, you know what, I've been here for a few days, and I have thoroughly investigated, and I think I found the root cause of this problem. And I pull out the mirror, and I at the guy's face. Here's a root cause. It's you. You're the root cause of it. So that had a major impact on my life. Let's see, let me see what else I was going to cover here. There's things in my career that, well, I got to work on the total quality management, and so values, vision became very important to me, okay? Help establish our corporate values I put together personal values quite early in my career, where I listed 5 or 6 things that I was not going to compromise as my career proceeded. What am I unwilling to compromise on? One was integrity, okay? I truly believe we have to be honest with each other. And although we all make mistakes, people understand. But don't lie about it. Don't hoodwink people. And I also had my faith as a value, okay? I think the greatest management book is the Bible. And I'm not going to compromise my values. And then I often look at and have told subordinates, you create values. And if the company's value or your employer's values are not the same as your values, you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. You want to make sure that you're working for an organization whose values support your personal values. I feel very, very strongly about that. I mentioned to the leadership group when I had my going away in Switzerland, a manager got up and said, if I can think of any word that describes Larry, it's integrity. You know, he's going to tell you the truth no matter. It's embarrassing, it hurts. Integrity. And what a compliment. What a compliment. And Sharon said about Tennessee. Let me just tell you, as a kid, my uncle had a cottage in Michigan on a lake. And we used to go there often, okay? And I mean, maybe I learned to ski behind a 10 horsepower outboard. And he upgraded that to a 25 horsepower. Well, I thought doesn't get any better than this. But I always wanted to live on a lake. And so when we retired, we took an assignment in Europe that was supposed to be 3 years. It ended up being 6 years. And it came to an abrupt end on 9/11. I happened to be on a plane then. It was to Hungary, Budapest, Hungary. And we stopped in Lucerne, I think it was. We picked up passengers. Guy came on board and said they attacked the World Trade Center. I went, this guy, you know, what does he know about this? And landed in Budapest, you know, just shocking to me because, you know, a whole bunch of guys, police officers, whole military was out, okay? Weapons, and, I mean, they're holding these Uzis and everything, you know, as you're coming on the plane, I'm like, something is not right. Doesn't feel good here, but, and then the sad part of it was, we were blessed in Europe, okay? We went to Germany 3 years, and Switzerland 3 years, and from our home you could tour a lot of Europe. And my wife could not have a job or an income because of the requirements of the country. You know, we got one work permit. I had that one. And so anyway, she gave a lot of tours, so people came over from America. They have free lodging. The company provided me a company car, and she took them all over. And you can drive to many places in Europe very quickly, very easily. You know, within 6 hours you can cover almost driving to neighborhood in Europe. And so, boy, she had a full itinerary of guests coming over to tour Europe, and after 9/11, everybody canceled. And it just came to a point where my wife said, you know, I'm having a hard time with it now. Nobody wants to see us, nobody will come over. And so I asked to be transferred to America, but they wanted me to stay. So I chose to retire. Easy way out of that one. But I had a boyhood dream about living on a lake, and so even when we lived in Pittsburgh for many years, about 25 years in the Pittsburgh area, we used to vacation and do a lot of boating. I grew up boating. I first did it about at 16, and so I'm a boater. I love boating and lakes, and so as the boys were growing up, we took many trips exploring lakes. Took many trips here to Tennessee, and I think that every lake with a TVA we have been on. We used to come here, get a map of the lake, go out and spend the whole day on the lake exploring it, get a hotel at night, next day go to another lake and check it out, okay? And really fell in love with Norris Lake. It was deep, it was clean, it was big, it was no through traffic. Utilities took the water out of this lake. I thought, ooh, this is beautiful. So after retirement, we selfishly moved to this area for a lake and a lake house. I soon realized this is a wonderful community. We were blessed by the number of people, the dedicated people committed to different charities. Wife and I, we got into the shepherd's home, helping women overcome addiction or reactivate to life, and just felt the passion for it, but realized how many wonderful people there are in this community. I mean, a lot of them dedicated Christian people. And the reason I joined Rotary was I thought, we're into fundraising, it's this charities, we need money. And what a better way to communicate your needs than through influential people in this community. So I'll join Rotary, and guess what? I can make a pitch to all these influential people. And I still feel humbled by most of you in this room. I really do. You have dedicated yourself to service above self, helping this community, helping others. There are so many wonderful charities, and by the way, Rotary has had many of them that have come here to speak that I never knew before, okay? Where did this charity come from? Never heard of it. But it's, and we got quite involved when we were in Europe with different organizations, because we didn't have a church, we didn't tie to the church, so we had to find charities. I feel very strongly about tithing, and so we started giving to a bunch of charities. Well, let me tell you, when you get on that list, I bet I get 20 a day in the middle. You get on a list where you're giving to somebody and they share those lists, trust me. So I don't know what to say. We're retired now, and we live on a lake, and we love it. It's gotten very crowded. As a matter of fact, when we visited one time many years ago, I forget the marine. I think it was on Tall. It was probably I forget the lake. Almost the last one on the lake, and we came in there with our boat. Okay, and the boat had a PA number on Pennsylvania, and came up to the dock to get gas, and the guy said, "We don't serve Yankees here." I thought, well, that's pretty clear. I said, I just came here to buy gas, but I'll find it elsewhere. And we left. I thought, wow, that's pretty blatant. And then it also struck us when we came here that some people said, well, you lakefront owners took all our property. What do you mean, took your property? I mean, it was available to anyone who wanted to pay for it, I guess. And you know, when you buy it a lot cheaper than I did. Anyway, I love this community. I love people. You kidding about the hug, but I want to hug everybody in here because I just appreciate you. I love you guys. And ask me some questions. I don't have any profound wisdom other than that given to me. And I used to pray for that, okay? The Bible says if you lack wisdom, ask God who gives generously. You know, why am I not asking for more wisdom? I can ramble on and on. As I get older, I get a little more sentimental. I get more appreciative of the people around me because, again, if I accomplish anything, it's only through grace. It's through grace. And through people that you surround yourself with, friends. And seeing Mr. Powers here, I just appreciate our government. I appreciate the local government, our state government. What a surprise for us out-of-staters that moved in. I mean, the taxes, the balanced budget, the dedication of our Tennessee leadership is just, wow. That's not typical, especially from some of us idiots who moved out of California. I kid with people. A lot of my relatives and my wife's relatives live in California, and we try to get back there once a year. And unfortunately, the leadership there has become very radical. And like my brother, I go, you know, have you ever considered moving? And his answer is no. Because his family is there, his kids are there. The roots are so deep, people are trapped. They're trapped into the high taxes, the crime, you know. But don't ever underestimate, there's still a lot of wonderful, dedicated people in California. There really are. And often we paint a picture based on the governor or the, you know, whether it's a Democrat or Republican state. But there's just a lot of wonderful people in this world, and I love and appreciate them. Any questions?
Did you, when you came here, I'm sorry.
Oh,
When you came here, you just kind of see if you would like it, or had you been living a lot and then decided to move here? What made you decide to settle in Campbell County?
Primarily Lake Norris that we fell in love with, and so we started looking at properties on Norris. And what intrigued me about Campbell County is it's near a beautiful lake that we love, but also fairly convenient. I mean, we're 15 minutes from town. That's convenient, okay? Now, does Campbell County have problems? Sure. But, you know, it was selfish. I told you it was selfish. It was just kind of logic. Just, you know, where's a good place to live? What's available? And Lakefront has changed dramatically here, okay? Just dramatically. And it's a little frustrating sometimes, even for us, okay? My property tax doubled last year. Its assessment doubled. And you know, am I going to appeal it? I did one time, and that's pushing water uphill.
I think we have a question over here too.
Yeah, Debbie's Powers.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you normally come around and pick up my plate, and do you have somebody appointed to do that today?